The Honourable for St. Albert Edmonton.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to speak in support of Bill C-377, an act to amend the Parliament of Canada Act, introduced by my colleague, the Honourable Member for Bruce Grey Owen Sound. This legislation amends the Parliament of Canada Act to specify that when a Member of Parliament or a Senator requests a secret security clearance, that member will be treated as being deemed to need to know the information in which the security clearance is sought. This is important because, as it presently stands, it is highly unlikely that any individual Member of Parliament or Senator will receive a security clearance. Unless a Member or Senator already has a security clearance as a result of their profession prior to being elected or appointed, or serve as a member of the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians, or NSICOP, the chances of a Member of Parliament or Senator successfully obtaining a security clearance are almost zero. And that is because security clearances are issued on a need-to-know basis. And essentially, the policy of the Government of Canada is that Members of Parliament and Senators do not need to know. Now, that may come as a surprise to Canadians. I would submit that it is problematic, which I will get into momentarily, but that is the policy. This bill changes that. It amends the Parliament of Canada Act such that for the purposes of processing security clearance application, Members of Parliament and Senators are deemed to know. In short, it provides a presumption that when a Member of Parliament or Senator applies, that they be granted a security clearance, a secret security clearance. That's what Bill C-377 does. That's all that Bill C-377 does. It's important to note what this bill does not do. It does not guarantee that a Member or Senator will be granted a security clearance. They will have to be vetted, just as any Canadian who applies for a security clearance must be vetted. If they are deemed untrustworthy, or if there are security issues or other red flags associated with the Member or Senator pursuant to the security clearance review process, they will be turned down. They will not obtain a security clearance. This bill does not change that. Moreover, this bill is targeted insofar as it applies specifically to secret security clearances, and I emphasize secret security clearances. It does not apply to and will not create a presumption of issuing a top secret security clearance to Members of Parliament and Senators. And further, it is important to note that just because someone has a security clearance doesn't mean that they have the unfettered ability to obtain whatever information they want. Obtaining a security clearance merely gets one's foot in the door. And Madam Speaker, I would further note that this bill importantly establishes a certain level of uniformity with respect to how applications for security clearances involving Members of Parliament and Senators are dealt with, because at present the process has been one that is ad hoc in nature. Members of NSICOP have security clearances, quite appropriately so. But if members of NSICOP have security clearances, wouldn't it also make sense for members who serve on committees such as National Defence, Foreign Affairs, and Public Safety to be able to also have security clearances, provided that they are properly vetted? Moreover, the government has established, for instance, a special committee to review the classified Winnipeg lab documents. Members on that committee were granted security clearances. Similarly, with respect to reviewing the Afghan detainee documents, the Harper government established a special committee in which members, again, had security clearances. So no consistency, no uniformity, the granting of such clearances being done on an ad hoc basis. I would submit, Madam Speaker, that that is not desirable. It can be improved, and this bill does improve it by providing greater certainty and transparency around the application process. Madam Speaker, as I noted at the beginning of my speech, I do find it problematic that, as a general rule, members of Parliament and senators are unable to access security clearances. After all, Parliament deals with matters of national security and intelligence. Those fall within the purview of Parliament. It is the responsibility of Parliament to hold the government accountable and to provide meaningful oversight on these matters. And so it follows that not having a security clearance and therefore not having the ability to access what may be pertinent information around national security and intelligence matters impedes the ability of members of Parliament and senators to do their jobs, to hold the government to account, to provide proper oversight and accountability. In addition to that, there is value in members having security clearances insofar as it enables them to better understand national security and intelligence matters. It creates a culture of greater awareness, and it enables members to, in certain areas, perhaps fill in the blanks, to have a better context with respect to national security and intelligence issues that might be matters that they are dealing with as, for example, a member of a parliamentary committee or as a shadow minister. Now, in that regard, I would just cite the ruling of Speaker Milliken in April of 2010 concerning the Winnipeg lab, or rather the Afghan detainee documents. Mr. Speaker Milliken said the following, quote, "In a system of responsible government, the fundamental right of the House of Commons to hold the government accountable for its actions is an indisputable privilege and, in fact, an obligation." Mr. Speaker Milliken went on to state, quote, "The right of Parliament to obtain every possible information on public questions is undoubted, and the circumstances must be exceptional, and the reasons very cogent when it cannot be at once laid before the Houses." And with respect to members of Parliament and senators being trusted with sensitive information, Mr. Speaker Milliken said, quote, "The insinuation that members of Parliament cannot be trusted with the very information that they may well require to act on behalf of Canadians runs contrary to the inherent trust that Canadians have placed in their elected officials and which members require to act in their various parliamentary capacities," end of quote. I concur wholeheartedly with Mr. Speaker Milliken. This bill is an important step in the right direction to enhance transparency and accountability around national security and intelligence matters, and it is a step in the right direction from the standpoint of better empowering members of Parliament and senators to fulfill their oversight responsibilities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.